Hello, this is Dr. George Brooks with Next Horizon Group, Aquaponics here in Phoenix, Arizona. And the date is December 4th, 2020. And this is an update on the Aquaponics Victory Garden. And we're going to be sharing some very exciting data today. Again, it's going to be an overview, but some very exciting data today. And our subject matter is harnessing urban backyards to combat food insecurity. Again, harnessing urban backyards to combat food insecurity. So let's get on with the presentation. Now, first of all, this is going to be a tip of the iceberg. It's not going to provide all information on all things because we only have like 10 minutes here or whatever the time, the period this thing takes, but it's not going to be an hour-long talk. Just a brief overview of some things that we have discovered that we think will have actually a significant impact on the ability to grow food here in the United States and other parts of the world that wishes to use it. Again, just the tip of the iceberg, however. This is a little bit of thought leadership. I thought that would be interesting and gives the foundation for the rest of the talk. The value of a technology lies not in its bells and whistles, but in the great questions it can answer, great problems it can solve. And that's we are discussing here. My subject matter that I've chosen is aquaponics. And it's not about the bells and whistles that it has, but are the great issues now that we are looking at how to make it useful that it can help us to solve. And this is a big one: food insecurity. We have a food insecurity problem right now in the United States and in much of the world, caused by food not being properly distributed, cost of food, pandemics and such things. And so we have now in the United States, which is unusual for a developed country, increasing levels of hunger. Let's put it simply, increasing levels of hunger. Excuse me. I was going down a street not too far from my home, and I saw a line of cars lined up for a mile, and I wanted to find out what the problem was. So I pulled over and asked. They told me they were there for a turkey. Here in the United States, we've just celebrated a holiday called Thanksgiving, and the traditional food is a large turkey. And they were lined up to get this particular piece of food. In previous years, most of the people in that line would not have been there because they would have looked at it and seen, well, someone's giving away free turkeys and that is nice, but I have the money for a turkey. So let me allow the people who are doing this to give food to those who need it. Today, now, at the end of the year 2020, these same people found that they need the food. This is the city where I live, Phoenix, Arizona. And in Phoenix, Arizona, we've always known that we have some degree of food insecurity, places where people cannot get access to food. These are known as food deserts. This is the Federal Food Desert Atlas. I'll provide a link to you in the information below the video. Put in your address and it'll show you where the food deserts are. This is Phoenix, Arizona, where I live. It is not delineated, but it is the central area here. And the rest of it is the remainder of Maricopa County. We're looking at about a 4,000 square mile area where Phoenix itself is 510 square miles. Every one of these green areas is a food desert, a location where access to healthy food is limited for too much of the population. And as the PBS NewsHour, which to me is a very reliable source, the food hunger crisis is growing thanks to the pandemic recession. People don't have jobs. Too many people don't have jobs because of the pandemic. The access to food has become limited because of accessing the ability to deliver food where it needs to be. Farmers are growing food in one part of the country and cannot deliver it to another part of the country, causing the hunger crisis to increase. You can go to many cities now and see food lines, as I described a few minutes ago. I saw one in Houston about a month and a half ago. In Dallas, just a few days ago, by the time of this recording, they gave away 600,000 pounds of food on one day. Had shut down 2 lanes of the freeway so they could all go in the same direction to provide people food for the week. Now, the question is, as people always ask, how do we solve this? How do we create access to healthy food once again? And one solution set that has been often proposed are the victory gardens. The victory gardens had the mission of growing all the food needed, all the vegetables needed for a family. They were instituted in the past two world wars. Pacific, the example I'm going to give to you is in 1945. The nation, the government, the United States wanted the food to be diverted, vegetables to divert to the war effort in Europe and in the Pacific. So they requested that the families in the United States grow their own, grow as much as they possibly can with the purpose of feeding their family, not to give it away, but to feed their family. And 20 million families responded, growing 40% of the food in the United States, which equal to 8 million tons. When you do the math and work that out, it comes out to about 800 pounds of food per family. Some grew a whole lot more, some grew a whole lot less, but on average, 800 pounds of food. So today, people are asking, since this was a successful business model, can we do it again? Can we grow 800 pounds of food in urban lands to help provide the need in these areas? And let's look at what 800 pounds looks like. This is a cow. This is an 800-pound cow. A small cow like this, can be weigh 700 pounds or 1,000 pounds, but 800 pounds. And so can we grow this in our backyards? Can we grow this in urban areas like, say, Phoenix, Arizona? And this is now Phoenix again, and this time you can actually see the delineation of the city. I'm going to use data from Phoenix since I'm very familiar with it. And the city is, again, 510 square miles. I live down here in this portion. And it has 43% empty space. That means out of 510 square miles, about a little more than 200 of it is empty. Now, some of that is parkland, some of that is mountain, some of that is desert, but a good portion of it could possibly be farmed, but it's not that simple. Doesn't have the infrastructure, doesn't have water going to it. We're in a desert city, doesn't rain enough. Who owns this land? Is it prime real estate for development, since Phoenix is one of the fastest growing cities in the country? All these things can interfere in the ability to grow food on what families have access to it. What would be the costs and liabilities to all that? Now, a victory garden needs that about 1,700 to 2,500 square feet of land to grow that 800 pounds. This is what it looks like. Unfortunately, our backyards, and again, here's the number, 1,700 to 2,500 square feet to grow that 800 pounds. Unfortunately, this is what our backyards look like. They're postage stamps compared to what they had back during World War II. If we're lucky, we have a 20 by 20 space, and that's not much land available to grow 800 pounds, and that even the best of farmers can't do that. This is what a 20 by 20 space looks like. 400 square feet. This is where this young lady is farming. And I wanted to show you what 800 pounds of vegetables look like, but I couldn't find the picture. So imagine dropping that cow in the middle of this location where she is attempting to farm. And even using furrowing as she's doing, or even raised beds, the best of farmers can sometimes get 200 to 270 pounds out of this, not 800. So it is almost using current techniques, impossible, almost, to grow 800 pounds of food in our postage stamp backyards, like you saw in the photograph that we have in Los Angeles, let alone zoning, Los Angeles, San Diego, all points in between, Las Vegas, Phoenix, Tucson. Most people can't do it. But can we, using a little 21st century magic, change that? Can we actually harness the thousands of backyards that we have into an urban food production model, once again, allowing for the Victory Garden business model to function again, once again? I'm saying again too often anyway. And the answer is yes. Yes, we can actually grow 800 pounds in a 20 by 20 foot space. And that's the project we've been working on here, using aquaponics as our chosen methodology to do that. This is a video that I will link to you so that you can see the original vision from back in January 2020. The idea was to use the aquaponics system that you see behind me, just one of them, and push it to see can we maximize production of 400 pounds from that system over a 12-month time period. The pool looked like this. We took a kiddie pool, a splash pool, and we turned it into a deep water culture facility. And we were able to grow with it a lot of food. The idea, of course, is to have the food available in the backyard for the family to take off anything they want, anything they grow for their family uses. And again, our goal from this one pool was 400 pounds. As far as the 400 square feet total, one pool's footprint was 70 square feet. When you use the working space around it, you gotta have room to move and everything walk between. It was a total working space of 108 square feet. And within the 400 square feet that you saw the young lady working in earlier, 3.7 of these units would hypothetically fit. Now, naturally, you're not going to have 0.7 of a unit, but just humor me with these statistics. So you could have 3.7 of these. And our goal was 400 pounds, with the overall problem we're solving is the ability to harness urban backyards to produce healthy food for the local populations. And we didn't make 400 pounds. We got 271 over 200 days. So from January to sometime around late July, we harvested 271 pounds, including about 20 pounds of fish. What happened? 118-degree heat for a full week killed about everything. So we didn't get to our 400 pounds. Even though we have replanted now, we are starting to grow some food again. But the thing about statistics, the thing about numbers is that they mean something. Taking the 271 pounds that we grew and multiplying it by 3.7 units that fit into the 400 square foot space, our total production, if we had done all of them, would have been 1,002 pounds. In other words, we exceeded 800 pounds within that 400 square foot area. That means it is technically feasible to grow 800 pounds of food in a backyard in Phoenix to provide the food for the local population. That's exciting. I'm quite frankly, it's very, very exciting. But there's one more issue. We did it technically. Can we do it economically? What would be the business model that would make it economically feasible? And we've found a few that have potential. One comes from the logic said by Ron Finley, the urban gardener, guerrilla gardener in Los Angeles. I'll link to this excellent TED talk that he had. He said, growing your own food is like printing your own money. Let's talk about how the logic of that works. If I have just grown 1,000 pounds of food in my backyard, if I am a really good farmer, this is again looking at the actual operational costs of growing food using the methodology that we used. And so far it looks, still doing the numbers, around $1 a pound, not without labor. And backyard gardeners don't pay themselves labor in this manner. So it looks like about $1 a pound. So if I grow 1,000 pounds of food and it costs me $1,000. However, if I was to go to the local supermarket and buy the same food, it would cost me $2 a pound. In other words, it would cost me $2,000 to buy the same amount of food that I grow. So therefore, every time I go out and I eat my own food, I am saving myself $1 a pound, $1,000 a pound over that growing period whenever I'm eating my own food. So a penny saved is a penny earned. I just earned $1,000, plus I got to keep and eat the food, which you can look at a multiplier effect if you wish, so that you're actually getting more benefit than the simple $1,000 in savings that you can now turn to something else. But then there's another part of this, and that we call grow and preserve. Our food was seasonal. Farming is seasonal. So if you want to keep your food, you have to find some way of preserving it. My wife has become excellent at that, expert at that. Angela, amazing what she has done. She has turned one of our rooms in our basement into what she calls the COVID room, where she has learned to self-taught to can and to can and preserve. And she has preserved more than 600 items so far. I'll link this to you as well. So we grow our own food and we preserve our food so we can have it year round. And the cool thing about this particular business model is that you don't have to depend on going to the farmer's market. You don't have to have time, set up the issues, go there and deal with all the rules and end up throwing away a part of your food because you couldn't sell it on that particular day. You're eating your own food. You are the guaranteed market. And plus it reduces the cost of entry so that more people can get into this. Cost of entry is a major issue as far as the inhibiting people from going into urban agriculture. It's not the only thing because we have education and zoning, a whole variety of things, but cost of entry is a big one. And this method reduces the cost of entry into the market. But there are other opportunities here. For another example is the food hub. Now, I again have just grown 1,000 pounds of food, but we had food all over the house, some we couldn't preserve. When we had fun and giving it away to friends and neighbors, or some people wanted to buy it, which was wonderful. But what if I really wanted to sell that food? The food hub solves a lot of the problems, and we now have food hubs here in Phoenix. Food hubs essentially are a food aggregator, an organization that pulls the food together from these small farms scattered all over all over the city. But as long as you meet the criteria of the food hub, that, for example, if I'm going to sell them my fish, it has to be 1.5 pounds in size. That's what they need in order to get the value for themselves. So I got to provide that 1.5 pounds catfish, for example. But they can take that catfish, they can take the greens and cantaloupes and everything else that I grow, value add to it, turn it, put their own brand on it. They'll pay me a agreed upon amount of money for it. And then that food becomes there, they rebrand it, they value add to it, say taking that catfish and filleting it and then selling the fillet into the market according to USDA regulations, and then distributing it to restaurants, grocery stores, and institutions. Overall, what a hub does is emulate the workings of a large farm without there having to be a single large farm. And that's one business model that has been shown to work in other parts of the country and here in Phoenix. And we would like to refine it and do greater things with it. Another opportunity that is related to the food hub is the cooperative. It's much like the food hub and how it functions, except that instead of the food hub as it is being an independent organization from all of the many farms that it's getting food from, the farmers own the food hub. They're members of this organization. Co-ops are well established in the United States. You can go to the USDA websites and find a great deal of information on how food hubs and co-ops working for your edification. Next comes the seed of an entire local food economy. We have parts in Phoenix. Phoenix is loaded with backyards, just like LA, just like San Diego. We have 4.5 million people, and that's a lot of backyards scattered across the city. What number of them would want to farm, I don't know. But we have a part of town where I live where we have an agricultural history. As we say down here, we're all just one grandma away from agriculture. My grandmother had a farm just a few miles from where I currently live. Naturally, it's gone now. It's now an industrial area, but she had a farm where my mother grew up. And it's like that for this entire, even have zoning called MUA, mixed use agriculture here in Phoenix that encourages urban agriculture. But if you're going to have urban agriculture, you have to have a food chain. This is the chain that you would see if you were growing fish. You gotta, but it's true for any kind of agriculture. You gotta have your raw materials. You gotta have your feed suppliers. You gotta have your equipment dealers. These are all independent businesses that can be set up. You gotta have someone who's going to raise the fish to market, to the breeding size and to breed it. And then you have the hatchery that hatches the eggs, turning it into produces the baby fish, and the nursery where the baby fish can grow to a larger size before it goes to the grow out person, such as the person who owns the aquaponics facilities, and they would grow them to a market size. From that, they would go to something that would provide basic processing. That means turning the fish into a fillet or whatever product that you would be giving them into a value added product. The value adding to could mean turning catfish into catfish nuggets and then breading them as an example. Again, that's true for whatever kind of food that you're growing. And then that would go to wholesale distribution and someone to do that. And then it would go to someone's restaurant or someone's retail, and then to the end consumer. Each one of these is an individual business opportunity that can be developed in the area, providing the seeds for a local food economy. And then you have service providers. For example, if you have independent businesses, you're going to need to have an accountant, or you're going to need a lawyer from time to time, because that's just the nature of living in these United States. All of these go to serve that local growing food economy that could build many, many jobs in these areas based upon the production of local resources. And if you go back to that thing called Maslow's hierarchy of needs, food is always on the lowest part of it. Everything else is built on the production of food. The pyramid is built on the production of food, and we are restarting that here so that it then serves every other level of society. Food is indispensable. Local food is always better because of food miles, freshness, quality. Or we can help it be better. So that is the end of this presentation. The possibilities are extremely exciting. I had a chance to serve on a grant a year ago, and it was always, we were trying to build new farmers. It was always who's our market and what is the cost of us getting into the business that inhibited people. We now have some basic questions that will allow more farmers to grow more food in more places. And we're looking forward to seeing how we can turn all of this in the near future into reality. If you have any questions, please go below and ask them in the more section. We'll try to answer. And also look to the above, and please subscribe to our channel and press the notification button so you can know whenever a new video is loaded. Take care and be safe. Thank you.